Good morning. This is Sweetie Berry with the Women of Dare Whimsy, and we're having a few technical difficulties this morning, and we look forward to seeing you. Gail Roddy and Dr. Edith Johnson will be with us momentarily. Today's topic is how does music work in your world? As gifted and creative women, the Women of Dare Whimsy, a community for gifted and creative women, often use music in very similar ways to everybody else. But the question would be, how do you use music in your world, and how does music perform in your world? And what is that about in your life? I see the ladies have joined us. They've been able to get to the new room easily. We apologize for that inconvenience, but it just simply wouldn't let us in today. For me personally, music is a big part of my world. I grew up with a mother who played the piano and the marimba and many other instruments, and so from early on I heard music in our home. In fact, every evening at about 8:30, my mother would go to the piano downstairs and would play us to sleep. And so I grew up with music being a very wonderful thing, and something that was very much a reminder of home to me. As a young child, I was taught to play the flute and the oboe and took piano lessons and sang in the choir. So music became a part of my daily structure routine during the school week, and again, of course, at church. So music as a part of my life has always been there, but it's only been really in the recent couple of years that I've recognized that music is such a tool in my life. And when we moved to a different home, and for a few weeks I was without my normal pieces of music and methodologies of playing it, I realized quickly just how important music is to me. Good morning, Gail. Let me start with you. And how do you use music in your world?
Well, I use music in my world as an exercise tool, for one thing. In the morning when I do my morning workout, I have music on, and it's playing very loud, and it's usually something with a very dramatic bass line so that I can really get a good cardio workout. In my relaxation time, I prefer music that's a little bit quieter. Actually, I prefer the quiet. When I'm in my car, and if I'm with my husband, he likes something on the radio, something quiet, something classical or jazz. But when I'm in my car, generally I don't like music at all. But there are times when music lifts my spirit. I love to write to good opera. I like Rigoletto to write to for some reason. I don't know why. But I do love opera, the music that is very stimulating to the heart and those parts of my brain that are creative. I guess all music does that. They say it touches the brain in a certain way. The certain instruments vibrate to a chord in the brain. I love opera. That helps me to create. It helps me to calm down. It helps me open my heart.
Oh, I love those answers. You know, so much for me is like you, is that I have specific things that I want to be in specific times. I want to listen. If I'm learning something new, the chances are high I want silence. If I'm in a very stressed situation, I definitely want silence so that I can understand and think out loud. As I like to tell my husband, turn that off, I need to think. But likewise, music can be a cue. As a school teacher and a teacher of both special needs kids as well as gifted and talented kids, there was a time I recognized the power of music in my classroom. For my lowest level learners as well as my highest level learners, the familiar time and sound was a clue of beginning. I used to play a certain song every day when they entered the classroom, and that was a cue for them to restart their day, to leave whatever they had outside the door, whether it was problems or exuberance. They could leave it at the door and enter into the zone of learning, which I hope to be an exuberant place too. But it's true whether I'm with direct sales and trying to get the energy up by having certain music playing when they enter my realm, or whether it is a background music preparing for a dramatic experience. Music completely sets the stage for people's emotions and ties their activity to their memory well. Dr. Johnson, talk to us about your experiences with music.
There we go. Technology, pushing the right buttons here. Music for me has a lot of purposes. When I'm having to think, I'm like both of you. I want it silent, just quiet, leave me alone. If it's outside noises, I can tune that out, but I don't want any music. If I'm working and doing a variety of things, I play a lot of classical during the day because it's just background, soothing, moderating type of atmosphere for me. And so that just keeps me going and makes me feel good. When I use, but then I like to play, and I like to play with my grandchildren, and so we put on a lot of pop music or dance music or whatever, and then we're doing all kinds of movement. And you were talking about engaging children, and movement is such an important part of being able to engage their brains and their enthusiasm and their learning for coordination, as well as just to be able to stimulate the brain in all ways. And so therefore one of my wish list things is, and I still got plenty of time to do it, is to become like a dance therapist, to add that to my repertoire as a therapist. And for me then, music to uplift me, I love to go to the musicals. I love to go to the musicals and hear all those Broadway type songs and things like that. And then if I just want uplifting a little different, then I go to my jazz. So music is important in very different ways in my life, and yet then comes the music of nature. And so to listen to the birds, to listen to the wind blow, to listen to the trees swaying, listening to the moving water, those are all important to me too, because that's music to my ears.
Love all of those answers. You know, it is true that music is all about us, whether it's the rhythm of the dishwasher or whether it's the birds singing and the winds blowing. And the sounds around us really do affect us, you know, and part of, as a marketing strategist, I'm very aware that many of the stores that we frequent spend a tremendous amount of effort and time to acknowledge that the sounds that we're surrounded by up our desire to buy or to impulse shop. There are many stores, and my husband can name one of them off the top of his head every day, that if we walk in, I get happy because the music are all my favorite songs, and I get in a dance around kind of mood, and the purchases just flow from that store, and that's all intentional. We know that music is a large part of the facilitation of purchasing. And the way that we run commercials and the background commercials the music we have on backgrounds of commercials and movies help not only move the plot and restore the concept of what we're trying to communicate, but it's very intentionally put there. And so one of the things that when life gets stressful, it's really a useful tool to have on your iPod or your phone a genre of songs that you know takes you to a happy place. For some people that may be jazz, for others it may be hard rock, for others it may be nature sounds. But sounds can have a tremendous impact on decreasing anxiety and transporting you from a mood of anxious to a happier place, to having a calm down place for those who have difficulty sleeping or relaxing, to start with several tracks that go from a momentous of normal activity to a slower and more relaxed and softer hushing sound often is a way to help adults with insomnia learn to sleep. They learn to relax into the beat and the sounds that they're listening to. So music is a science as well as an art, and it's something that is fascinating to study. The neurolinguistics of how our body receives, the neuroplasty of how our body receives music, the memories it evokes, the way it helps us learn. I know in the classroom, I grew up in the 60s, and we were taught grammar and the mathematics table and actually how to spell the first 1,000 words, all through rhythms taught by records and playing music with them. And there are very few times that I meet some of my classmates, now 35 and 30 years out of the classroom, who cannot still do those jingles and tell you exactly what they were, because the memory is very astute because it was connected to a rhythm and it was connected to music. So often when I work with children who are really struggling with dyslexia or dysgraphia, such as my child has, one of the first things we do is put them into a drumming or a rhythm routine with things to see if that jugs their ability to remember or to learn or to have connection with something that's meaningless to them otherwise. You know, if your child doesn't see number 5 as a 5 like you do, but sees it upside down, but they learn that 5 taps is the same as 5 rock objects or 5 things, then that music has done a very strong connection for something that their brain doesn't connect correctly. And so that's one of the ways that we know that people relearn after traumatic brain injuries. But more than that, with creative and gifted girls, it's very important to find a place to take them to relax. to take them to leave what they're thinking about to a different place, and music is a perfect venue for that. Music in the home can allow you to dance faster while you're cleaning, or it may encourage your romance with a partner of your choice as you turn on the music to candlelight. Music is a very important part of our world. Gail, let's do a popcorn a moment and think about what's a piece of music that comes to mind to you with a happy memory.
Oh, well, I grew up in the Motown era, and that was my teenage years. The Motown songs, the Temptations, the Supremes, the Miracles, and those songs take me to a happy place because, you know, the teen years, you're just so full of vim and vigor, and everything is new, and romance and hormones, and those songs were so beautiful because they spoke about love. They spoke about it in a teenage fun pop way, but the lyrics were very, very uplifting, very personalized, and just very beautiful. So that era takes me to a happy place. Whenever I hear those songs, or you spoke about using music to cook with, I do that. I can put on music, and boy, I can clean my whole house to one track of Motown songs. That just really energizes me and gets me going because it's those memories of youth and the energy, and the world looked wonderful to you then. I guess in some instances it didn't look so wonderful, but your outlook on life there was nothing but going forward from there. So that's where I go to my happy place, with the Motown tunes.
Love that. I think I know the answer for Dr. Edith, but I'm anxious to hear her version.
Oh, well, you know, one of my things that I really go when we talk about happy places is that I would say folk songs. I would say folk songs, and it has to do with during my late high school and early college years, I was playing the guitar and around people, and that was going to the 70s now, Gail, and so folk tunes was really important, and it had to do about the connections and the stories, and being able to know and believe in each other and express ourselves. So it was a way, again, of expressing ourselves. So that's really important for me. But then you put a good rock and roll on, and I'm ready to really ready to move and dance. So I did a lot of the with all the little balls going on and the magic floors and things like that. So dance music comes up really, really strong for me too, as far as just being happy and let me be free and let me express.
Love that. You know, I am so eclectic when it comes to music. I love classical music. I love to play classical music on the piano, but I love hip-hop. I love rock and roll. I love jazz. I love the classics, as my father did. I just love music, period. And I'm really bad about not making sure that I have the music I enjoy near me, whether it's in the car or whether it's on my phone. I'm just now learning to transition everything to online so that no matter where I am, I can pull it from my phone or my iMac or an iPad or in the car through a USB port. My husband is so good at that, but I have not given myself the gift of recognizing I deserved music whenever I want to listen to it. And part of it is I'm still just kind of stuck to that boombox from the 70s. I think that there should be one of those somewhere in every room to turn on, but technology has changed, and it really is on my phone most of the time. I just did 2 different 10-hour drives in a row, and you know, the joy of it was this time I stopped and asked for some assistance with my child and said, help me put what's on my computer on my phone, and sure enough, I could listen through a USB port into my car all the way there and all the way back, all of my favorite things. And as she says, boy, you really switch it up, Mom, because I do. I go everything from Bach to absolute Bono. So there's no doubt that I'm going to be diving and jiving and dancing and having fun, and sometimes symphony conducting all the way on my trips because I enjoy the music and I love to hear it. Now, one of the things I want to encourage today at Dear Whimsy, we talk about how to restore, relax, and release into your life. And music is one of the tools that makes it so easy to do that. Now, just as I said with my classroom, a music can cue you into arriving home. I know of many of the people I work with that have a certain album already in their player, whatever it may be. When they hit the door, it flips on like a light switch. It's the clue to them to let go of the day's stress and to enter into their own zone of happiness. So many of the artisans and people I work with do work from home, or they own a home-based business where they're in and out of a home office as well as their home throughout the week. And that's part of the trigger that helps them understand that they're not on work time, that this is family time, this is me time. And I encourage you, as you think about the summer, what are ways you can encourage music in your life? Could there be a startup song for cleaning chores? Could there be a song that indicates you're done for the day? Could there be a background song that helps you feel like you're humming along your day and getting through your to-do list? I know I personally start with a tape from Thelma Wells, and she has 2 different songs I just love that are kind of quiet hushes in the morning. As soon as I wake up, I go to my desk and I flip on that tape. The first 2 songs happen while I'm doing my devotion and while I'm working on my outlines of what's today's objectives and reviewing what I'm to do. It's just a very hushed and hallowed and sacred place for me to hear her voice. It's also a relaxing place to me to know that that first part of the day is quiet and still and focused, so that when the busy of producing, when the busy of I need something because my website broke down, or all those calls that come from business calls begin, I'm ready to receive them because I've already had the me time. I've taken the time to make sure I'm focused and had time to do it. And likewise on the bad days, on the difficult days, on the complex days, I restart that tape middle of the day or maybe at 1 o'clock to have a resetting point. And for me, that's a trigger, to have that trigger that says, oh, I can start. Let's go back to that quiet place. Let's go back to that peaceful place. And it really works with my children and husband, too. They know when they hear that music, we're all kind of slowing down for a minute. And it's interesting how it just kind of amplifies like an ocean wave going out. But if I have it on in my office quietly, they'll suddenly kind of quiet down, too. And it usually is a calmer for the whole household, which is a positive thing for all of us. Each week on Wednesdays, we have this Between Us Girls where we talk very openly and candidly about what works in our lives and what's not working in our lives as gifted and creative women. And then on Thursdays, we follow through whatever the topic is with what we call a sister post. The sister post is a post in darewhimsy.com. That's DAREWHIMSY.com. It's a place for creative and gifted women to restore, release, and relax into becoming themselves. Each of our writers, we have about 8, come in each week, and the weeks that they're available, they do a sister post to tell us how they handle whatever the topic is in their life. And we also have a link back to our own personal websites, because you see, we want to learn about you, and we hope through your comments that we'll follow you home too and learn what you do and how you do it. We want this to be a conversation and a community, not a place where gurus exist. All of us are very much normal human beings, well, for the most part, and we're trying very hard to open our world to other gifted and creative women, to have conversation and dialogue, to create a community of us so that we can share our benefits and share our learnings and talk with each other. Gail, if you would go through one more popcorn with us, and the popcorn is, what's one type of music you've not listened to lately that this may spark you to look for the next week?
Well, you said that you like to listen to hip-hop. That's one genre that is not very appealing to me, but you've got me thinking that I will listen to. I could listen to a few songs. I know my husband listens to some that I think, okay, that's a possibility. So you've got me going there, sweetie. I'm going to check out some hip-hop.
You know, for me, hip-hop is absolutely energy. It makes me want to dance. And that dancing mode comes in handy when I've got a kitchen to clean or a floor to sleep, or I've got things to think about. A lot of times I turn on hip-hop when I'm in a new space, a space where maybe putting on an event, a space where I may need to absolutely find energy for a meeting or a group or an activity to be. And that energized hip-hop helps me to find the energy in the building space physically as I walk around it. And, you know, it's not long before an empty warehouse or an empty auditorium starts to feel like a possibility for the next experience. And I love that magic it has for me, because it really is a core creative fuel for me. You don't hear me listen to it, you know, just randomly, honestly. I use it for specific purposes. It's for when I need energy or when I'm really ready to open up the valves of creativity and create something that doesn't exist. That's the music I go to. Dr. Edith, what would that be for you?
Well, you know, I get exposed to a lot of different things, especially what's coming up now. You guys are talking about hip hop because my eldest son is also a DJ, but he DJs from the teenage high schoolers all the way to Hispanic weddings. So his genre, I never know what he's going to be playing when we're traveling together. So I probably, and I listen to a station that's mixed. Probably need to listen to some more traditional ballroom type dancing music. That would be different and a change of pace for me to listen to those more traditional type of songs for dancing.
How fun. One of the ones I'm going to be looking for next week is ukulele music. I saw in Huntsville they're offering a ukulele class for couples. And one of my friends, Carrie, is a ukulele musician. And I've heard a few of her songs that I really like, but it just caught my attention this morning that a ukulele class for couples, how fun could that be? And I bet there's a lot of different sounds from a ukulele than I grew up with. So I'm going to try and hunt and listen and see what that sounds like. And go back and visit some of my friends who play the ukulele because it sounds like a fun new skill to learn. But that's it for this week's Between Us Girls. We hope that you'll consider and reconsider how music works in your world and how could it be that you could use it as a tool to de-stress, to cope, to restore, to release, and to have exuberance in your life as a creative and gifted woman. We hope that you'll join us tomorrow on DearWhimsy.com for our Between Us Girls follow-up. I saw some really neat writing there yesterday when I was checking and getting ready to schedule it, so I know you're going to enjoy the post there. When you comment, we'll follow you home, too. If you ask us questions, we'll be sure to answer them in our replies, and likewise, we'd love to visit your website, too. Thank you so much for joining us this week. This has been Sweetie Berry with the Women of Dare Whimsy, Gail Roddy, and Dr. Edith Johnson. We look forward to being with you next week. Talk to you soon.